You might find it actually in some of the Challenger tractors, for example. It's pulling just a little less than 400 horsepower, and it's kind of the latest technology. Well, it's one step away from the new high-pressure common rail fuel system. On the back end, we have a big red gizmo called a dynamometer. And this is actually what is going to put a load on the engine so we can measure torque, measure RPM, calculate horsepower, measure emissions, all that sort of stuff. So in essence, this red gizmo on the back, the dyno, is taking a place of putting a load and putting the plow on the ground or going up that steep hill or whatever. This is called a water brake dyno. So in that room right behind you guys there, you'll see a bunch of computers in there. One of those computers controls, right behind Emily, that pancake, that blue pancake. There's a valve. And that computer is going to, through air, will open and close that valve. It's going to either put more or less water against a turbine, so that's going to either increase or decrease the load on the engine. Okay, so it's called a water brake dyno. Randy talked about their dyno. We'll see that this afternoon. They did use this for a little research for what we need for, what we do is we will disconnect sensors, we'll put in bugs in the engine so the students have to diagnose what it is. Okay. This dyno works fine for doing that. For research, no. Okay, research, you have to fine-tune those things down to the very millionth of a millimeter type of thing. So their dynamometer, way more expensive, but it's also, they can fine-tune that for research purposes. Because when they test a biofuel and they test an additive whatever, they have to repeat time and time again under the very exact same parameters. You can't do it with a water dynamometer. Okay, but what we need it for, it works really, really good, okay? All right, so let's go out the door and we'll take a left. Okay, so as alluded, this is a large treadmill for a semi-truck, okay? So this is what we call an in-floor bidirectional chassis dynamometer. So in-floor obviously speaks for itself. Bidirectional means that the rollers can operate both directions. We have had small front-wheel drive cars on one set of rollers. We can actually run each roller together or independent. Doesn't work out too good with front-wheel drive cars. It's just, this actually ends up driving the car, which we can actually start scattering engines and transmissions. Not a good thing. So we pretty much just have pickup trucks all the way up to a Class 8 dual tandem semi-truck, or a tractor. And we have one over in the other shop. We'll see that shortly. We do run on this thing quite often. The only issue is that when this building was originally designed, it was actually twice the size of what it is. Legislature, as you probably know, isn't real good to education. So they cut a lot of funding. And when they cut the funding, the building, instead of cutting out rooms in the building, the whole building shrank, including this one. When this was originally designed, we could actually pull in a semi-truck and close the door. We could actually back in a semi-truck on the rollers, still close the door. You know those black spots on the door? That's from the exhaust stacks. We can't close the door. The first dyno run I ever did was, I had a state truck in here. It was a Mack truck from up on top of the hill. We pulled it in, we got it all chained down, went to start making some runs. I was in that computer room and I looked out that little window and I saw the grill of a Mack truck. I thought, self, if those chains ever let go, it's really going to suck to be me, because that truck is coming through that wall. There's nothing going to stop it. So we shut things down. Now we face the vehicles out the door. Chance of the chain breaking are pretty slim, but you know what? If it does break, it's going that direction. Okay. So we chain them down the back, we chain them down the front, and then we make our run. So same thing. The computer's going to control those two pots there. Open or close a water valve. Water comes in and puts a load against the turbine, slows this down, so now the engine in the truck has to do the work to keep that running. So we can calculate, measure torque, measure the RPM, calculate the horsepower, do emissions. We can put, I can put bad filters in the fuel system, so that we can replicate a lot of problems for our students so they can diagnose what the problem is. Okay, it's all back to the diagnosis, and this is one heck of a training aid. It really is. And our students have a lot, and they love running these trucks. I mean, where else can you run a semi-truck at 65 miles an hour and not leave the shop? Okay, that's what they get to do, and they love the crap out of it. They just, it's a pretty fun thing to do actually. So we have. It's going that way. Yeah, it's going that way. In fact, if we had another day, what we could do, we could have bought the semi in, strapped it down, done some dyno runs for you. That would have been kind of cool. So.
They bring their own personal vehicles?
Some of them do, yeah. The only issue we have with that is liability. So if they're putting a load, and we're very, very clear with them. You know, our students, they put chips in these damn pickups and they got 500 horsepower, whatever the hell they have in there. If they put it on here, they load it down, and that engine scatters, that transmission scatters, that's not back on us. That's back on the student. No, we have to make that very, very clear to them. Very clear. We've had a couple of local repair shops that they donate stuff to us. Well, in payment, we actually have them come and run. They can run their, I know I got one guy who had a semi, he had a misfire in a semi. They took it out on the highway, could never ever figure out what it was. So, well, let's put on the dyno. We can replicate a load. So they put it on here, and they actually misfired. They diagnosed a misfiring injector on one of the cylinders, but they did it on the dyno. But that same person also donates back to our program. So didn't charge him anything, but he doesn't charge us for the donations as well. So yeah, it's a win-win for all of us. It worked out really well, really well. So. Okay, so we're going to go out this door. We'll go all the way down the end, and we're going to go out and we're going to go across to the farm mechanics. I'm going to step behind you here, Tracy. In here, this is an oil-filled hub. All right, so there's a hub on either end, and there's also a hub on the inside. So there's 4 hubs per track. So 4 times 4 means there's 16 hubs per vehicle or piece of equipment. What we didn't know is what Greg found out yesterday is if I look at this, I can see kind of, you know, pretty nice looking oil in there, right? They took it for a run yesterday. When they came back, every single hub was milky white. What does that tell me? Water. Exactly. This has been PDI'd, all right? So pre-delivery inspection. That was not checked, and I'm pretty sure it's not on any PDI sheet that I've ever seen. They look at the level of the oil. Is the oil? Yeah, well, there's oil in there. Okay, we're good to go. Okay. This has not been in the field. So where the hell did that water come from? Any ideas?
The original source.
Exactly. That's exactly where it came from. So that's a supplier problem. So when this tractor was put together, I can't remember. I think these are actually put together in Fargo, I think. I'm not sure about the quadrats. Anyway, wherever it's put together, either it was from the assembly plant's container or it was from their supplier. That's the only place that water could come from. Okay? So Greg is actually going to let the Torgerson's guys know about that, because I would assume if it comes, and I've been to an assembly plant and they don't have 1 gallon jugs. They have 500 gallon or 1,000 gallon containers. Okay? And they just pump that stuff out. This is not the only quad track with that problem. I will guarantee you that. Okay? So if you have any customers with a quad track, that might be something they want to check. And the only real way to check it, well, it's pretty easy. Get out and run it around, get it all mixed up, stop it, look at it. If it's milky, there's a problem. Okay?
Is there one in each of these small?
Yes, there is. And the small ones. These ones are okay.
They are?
Yeah, it's just all these big ones that they found. Yeah, I think that's very interesting, actually. Really interesting. So.
I mean, they don't require different.
See, I'm not
It's
sure.
all the same oil. All the same oil.
I'm not sure I believe you. Can we take this out and run it around? Come back in.
Go and check the keys. Well, seriously, go. You see if the keys are in there, let it go and do it. I'm dead serious.
Now they're pulling up, take a set, get it right in there.
Okay. Mighty vac. They clip on the